go through it and learn from that. Just complaining about something doesn't tend to help your situation. You just feel miserable. And, who wants that? Nobody wants that. Okay. Now, here's another thing. When people ask you what you do, very often we give a response with the name of the profession. I'm a doctor, I'm a librarian, or whatever. One of the ways to think about it that will enrich in your career path, as opposed to just having a job, J-O-B, job, which some people say means just over broke, because you're always working for someone else, is in fact to think about, what do you want to be known as? And also, what do you want to be known for? So you kind of move out into the future and look back, sort of hindsight in advance. What do you want to be known as? What do you want to be known for? And that way then you can make sure you can take pride in the contribution you make along the way, which in turn ultimately becomes your living legacy. Now, in terms of getting a job and bringing all these aspects of your brain, your mental cognition, your mental systems to work, getting a job, of course, starts with desiring something, which leads you to make decisions. So what you want to be doing is align, in order to make good decisions, align your energy, align your expectations with the opportunities available to you or the opportunities you create for yourself. So in terms of getting a job as well, take on the importance of intention, both in terms of cash flow. You might also decide intentionally to become an entrepreneur, but just be careful of the trap of taking on a nasty boss yourself, who makes you work at all hours of the day and night. So the trick with being an entrepreneur, at least after you get started, is how can you become a business owner and not a prisoner of the business that you created in order to escape being a prisoner. It's a big problem and a common problem. Now, in terms of a career path, you might want to decide or lay out ahead of time how you're going to climb that proverbial ladder of success, paying attention to the fact that sometimes we spend a long time climbing a certain so-called ladder of success, which in fact is against the wrong wall. So just pay attention, because sometimes we don't know ahead of time which wall we want to be climbing until we've had some experience. But if you check in every once in a while, then you can figure that out. Now, always to get a job, there's this interview process. And of course, what you want to be doing is matching your CV or your resume with the keywords put out in the ad. And you're really dealing with the whole notion of perspective of the prospective employer, the interviewer. You want to match what they need and want with who you are and what you can offer them, what value you can deliver to them. And you want to set up a perception of yourself, if it's true, that works both for you but also for them. The trick is, of course, that most jobs these days, even though they do advertise publicly, are inside jobs. And that goes back to developing relationships. It's who you know and who knows you in order to take on some of these new positions. So that's about getting a job. In terms of keeping a job, there's a number of cool things that you have to bear in mind. In order to keep doing excellent work, which is basically what you want to do, you don't keep a job by doing the minimum. You want to keep a job by being excellent at it. And along the way, you have to develop a sense of stamina, which includes your continued effort, but also delivering results. You want to be able to get along and cooperate and collaborate with other people. And part of how that happens is that you maintain a focus. You focus on your role, but also on the organizational priorities. So you have to have enough of a broad perception and perspective to know what your organization is looking to do, because a very common thing that happens is in any role or many roles, scope creep rears its head. And you all of a sudden are taking on all kinds of activities and jobs that weren't in your job description and make it, gobble up your time and then make it really hard for you, in fact, to deliver even your own priorities based on what you were hired for. So a very simple exercise that I often recommend is in terms of key performance indicators is that you, on a sheet of paper, make 2 columns. Left side column is just list a whole range of things that you do every day, day in and day out, all the weird stuff and all the regular stuff and so on the left side of the page. List them down there. On the right side of the page, list all the things that you were hired to do, that you are paid to do based on your job description, so that when the person, the HR person or whoever it is, has your little performance review with you, whether it's annual or otherwise, notice that they will very often measure you against the key performance indicators, and you need to know that you are actually delivering on those things, even though you're spending a whole lot of time doing other things that have crept into the scope of your work that isn't in the key performance indicators. So that way you can become aware of what you need to take off that list of scope creep, delegate it to someone else, get out of it, and go back and focus on what you're actually hired and being paid to do. And finally then, on the move. So whether you want to move up in the same organization or in the same industry, maybe you want to move across organizations. And in fact, the term for that nowadays is called latticing. It's kind of like being on one of the jungle gyms that's rounded like a dome, and the children scamper up and they climb up this rounded half a circle with geodesic dome shapes. Lattice, like a lattice pattern. It's where you cross over into different organizations, perhaps in the same industry. Or whether you want to move over to becoming an entrepreneur and being a business owner. Maybe you want to move out to the nonprofit or impact sector. Maybe you want to move on altogether to full retirement, move away. So pay attention to the whole notion of distinction between career development, where you intend to stick around for a while, and career advancement, where you're looking to move somewhere at some point fairly quickly. Advancement requires you invest more time, take on more responsibility, take on more demands, in fact, which will impact your wider life. And of course, along with that, generally, you are paid more, but there's a cost for it. So just be aware of that. So you might check in with yourself annually. I do collages. I do them several times during the year, but certainly I always do them at New Year's, and I'm already working on my check-in to take stock. What do I want to create for next year with my collages? I use magazine pictures and words and pull together what really inspires me in different areas of my life. So take stock of both your achievements and your shortfalls, and pay attention to what are the real shortfalls, perceived shortfalls, and what are the shortfalls maybe relative to the goals you had. So you might actually then have to go back and look at your goals and see, was it realistic? What do I need to either be, do, or have more of in my life, be, do, or have less of in my life? Look at the fit you have with your organization. How does it impact your lifestyle? Does it fit with your philosophy and life goals? How about the organization itself? Is it healthy? What are the dynamics? What's the trajectory there? How about the future, both for you within that organization? Is it a dead end situation for you, or is it a dead end in terms of the survival of that organization? Of course, we need to look at retirement and goals, needs, and your situation and the people around you impacted by that. And also what kind of legacy you want to live. Have you been able to fulfill it? Are you living a living legacy, which is where you live life on your terms and contribute to others along the way? So basically, bring your whole self, bring your brain to work. Whether you're getting a job, you want to stay in a job by being excellent, or you want to move on to the next phase of your life. And, remember what I said about the memory. If you pay attention in the present, you not only have memories in the past, but you have much more to pull with you into the future that you create by design. So I want to thank you for being here with me today on Living Legacy Leadership. Look us up on the SOBradionetwork.com, and I look forward to having you join me next week. Do remember, the life you live is the legacy you leave. Bye-bye now.